Okay. All right, well, we're back with another Roy and Kim in real life. Really just a practical life videos we like to do, just where we just sit and chat, talk about stuff. And so something I'd been stirring around for a while, for a couple of months actually, been making little notes here and there, was really this kind of idea and this concept of the good old days, really nostalgia. I think what started to get this going is really kind of delving back into the realm of digital cameras again, and buying some of those old cameras on the thrift store website. Mm-hmm. And I found like the cheaper and the less quality of the camera, the more I liked the pictures. It's like they're actually pretty cool. And so it kind of just made me start to think, about when I've had my first little digital camera, which I think was like 2001. You have an old digital camera sitting around from like 2012, and we've used that. It takes really cool pictures. Those, and I was just thinking, man, those were the days where it was just like, man, this was interesting because you were still using those disposable little cameras you'd buy at the Walgreens, mm-hmm. but then you had this digital camera, and it's like there was a time before it totally switched over, and so it's just like an interesting time, and back in the days, we like to say back in the days, and so it just kind of got me thinking about, what we consider, the good old days, really, and just nostalgia in general, and and so like it's just thinking, like we live in a culture that there's a lot of people who have a hard time moving forward in life.
Right.
Because of some trauma in their life. But then there's a lot of people that have a hard time moving forward because of a lot of good things that happened in the past.
Right.
And so it just kind of got me thinking about that, just the kind of the traps of nostalgia, really, which if nostalgia, I guess like a kind of a working loose definition of it would be like an affection towards the past. Or something like this, an affection towards, it's like a reflection on the past and a longing to want to be there. Mm-hmm. So that would be nostalgia. When you hear people say, oh yeah, I'm just like a nostalgic person, most people don't mean it that way. Like, oh, I just long to be there again. But that's really what it means. It's like you think about the past and man, you wish you were there again.
Yeah.
Now, I myself have struggled with nostalgia, in my life. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't struggle with it currently, but I mean, I have in the past before we got married. Yeah. Just kind of looking back at the old days and going like, man, it was pretty cool. Well, what about you, honey? I mean, do you consider yourself like a sentimental person, a nostalgic person?
I want to say it to a degree. I am. Like, to me, I am a sentimental person. I think in regards to childhood memories.
Go ahead.
Just like things that I did with my family growing up, or holidays. There's just certain traditions of cooking or things doing together with my mom. Mm. I think, those things I reflect on, family times, family outings or campings.
But you don't ever find yourself like sitting around going like, man, I wish I was back there?
Not in those days, no. I think I enjoyed it. I'm thankful for...
But I'm saying now, do you ever find yourself daydreaming about the good old days?
No, I don't.
That's okay. That's what I was going to say, because I don't consider you a nostalgic or a sentimental person. Like,
I think that I'm a sentimental person. Like,
We're sentimental in the fact of like, you're kind and you're loving and you cherish things that are happening, but not sentimental in the aspect of like you save a bunch of stuff from when you were a kid.
Yeah, no, not
we,
really.
We know people like that, right? Who consider themselves sentimental. They can't get rid of anything.
Well, the only thing that I save is like when somebody, like little kids, drew me like a picture, or like I lived in Florida. I had a little our neighbor Zara. She was like so little and she likes to draw, and so she would just draw me random like pictures and color it, and I thought it was cute, and I just kept those things to make me little postcards. So I liked it. She made me like little bracelet, and so not her, but it was like other little girls that would just make me stuff for random reasons, and I would just keep it. I think I still have it as I look back on it, you know. So
Because-
I think that's why I said like to a degree, but not like, man, like I keep all these things and like, no.
Well, yes, I would agree with that. Like, you're sentimental to a degree, but not to like the degree that I think I struggled with, you know, where like I really like just would be like sad because
Yeah.
I kind of missed the old days, you know.
Yeah.
But then when the truth came down to it, like the good old days weren't really that good.
Well, I knew that something was wrong with you when we got married because you had like these metal lunch boxes. You had like 2, 3 of those. And then after you,
I still have one in the shed.
I think you do, yeah, but you had like 2 or something. And then after, and I think it had David Hustle
Knight Rider. David Hasselhoff.
from Baywatch?
Yes.
Okay.
He also was on Knight Rider, which
Oh,
was
okay,
a show
so
I
I
grew up
never
watching as
saw
a
it,
kid.
yeah. And then after, you also had like bottles, like old bottles that you would save from the jobs that you did with Terminex. Like even if it was broken, like we literally have a whole box of all different type of bottles. So I knew something was wrong with him. Like I was like, I think my most funniest one was when you had these like this black leather jacket that had all these
It's a biker jacket.
a bike, yeah. And then you had these boots that we still have, and it's these,
The biker jacket we still have. It's hung up, and I've had it since I was 16.
yeah.
It
like-
still fits, kind of.
And then you have 2 pairs of shoes that caught me off guard, which was one that had like, it was like a black boots, probably for the biker jacket, and there's like chains in it. And then you had like these, and you have these off the ground, high, like tap dancing shoes. But I don't think that's the name of it. But I think
No, they're like
it's
kind of they're retro like zoot suit kind of shoes.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like
They're wingtip shoes,
yeah.
but they're thick at the bottom.
yeah.
They're not traditional wingtip shoes.
So he's definitely a nostalgic guy. And then he had all these magnets
Uh-huh.
from like
I like to collect magnets.
yeah, from Roosevelt, the some alien show that you like,
Roswell.
Roswell.
All right. So yes, okay. I've had issues with nostalgia and being sentimental, hanging on too much stuff. I've grown out of a lot of it, got rid of a ton of stuff, you know, because we're building a new life. We got married, and it took me a little while, but we're building a new life. So this leads me to the train of thought for this video, which was, what if people, maybe somebody out there who's listening to this who finds himself kind of suffering with a little bit of nostalgia sickness, what if we lived life today as if today was the good old days? Because most people, they're longing for the past, but what if we lived like that today? You know what I mean? Thinking about like today, 20 years from now, we're going to look back on today, and chances are we'll look back with a lot of fondness. We'll be like, man, those were the days when we just would sit out by the levee and make videos. You remember those days? And so knowing that today's going to be special 20 years from now, like, why isn't it special today?
True, because I think it's a mindset thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're so caught up in our own self of what we want to, you know, generate in regards to thought of, and what we want to keep that gives that little comfy little bubbly moment feeling within, and it's kind of like a you know, a self thing, you know. I don't know what you would call it, but I think it's all about the mind. We're selective people. We choose what's gonna bring some sort of satisfaction or fulfillment, but really doesn't. Because then we keep going back, having that same emotion, feeling, same train of thought, but really we get nothing out of it. You know, so yeah.
Well, I think we live in such an anxious society too, though. We're always anxious for things, you know. We're trying to do things, and then most people are, you know, and we're not immune to this, you know. You start to worry about stuff, you know, and it really steals the joy out of today.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for example, what do you think is currently happening in our life right now, like this season of our life, what's one just like simple thing that 20 years from now you look back and you'd be like, man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Well, I think the one thing that I like is that we have our dog Bucky, and he brings us so much joy.
Oh my Lord, I'm gonna start
and
crying.
Just having to, like, just taking him for walks in the park and seeing him try to get at the bunnies, and like those are the things that I look back on, or when he's like whining because he's so excited that he's going to the park, that he knows that he's going to the park.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is one thing that I'll look back on and be like, I miss that, because just looking at him just brings a lot of joy in your heart.
It does. I can't even imagine life without him.
Yeah. So it's like one of those things. And then, like, I guess we get to have fun with him too as well. Like, we talk in our own language and say words that we know he knows, and that really sparks, like really trigger him off.
Like the word park.
Like the word park, or let's go, or the shop, or treats.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would say to you, like, that's my daddy, Boxster. That's my daddy. Or I love my daddy. Or try to give Roy a kiss.
He gets all freaked out.
Or I get close to him. I mean, those are the things, because then he gets at me, but I'm the one that feeds him. I'm the one that, probably take a little more.
Well, you're his mother.
Yeah. I'm around a little more, but I'll look back on that. I mean, there's many things I could look back on too, but I'll look back on that. I mean, in another level, just time being spent with you that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Doing these vlogs. I think this is that's,
It may not always have time for this,
Yeah. So I think in sitting back and just like being able, just enjoying this backdrop, and we've done and sit in different locations, and I think those things are memorable that I'll look back on.
Yeah, I don't think, like I said, I don't think sentiment is inherently a bad thing. I think when you get trapped in nostalgia, which is, like I said, that longing to be back there, that can be bad.
Yeah, that drawing.
Yeah, that is, because it's a like you said, it really is rooted in like not being satisfied now.
Yeah.
And people who look back all the time, they're just not satisfied now. So I don't want that. I don't desire that for the future at all.
Yeah.
I really want to be able to look back with a preciousness,
Yeah.
And so on that kind of note though, what would you say, like from your childhood, or like from back in the day, is like one thing that like seemed really goofy or just totally unimportant then, but every once in a while it crosses your mind and you're like, man, that was actually pretty special, regarding your childhood, something a memory that I'm not a part of. Because I got one. I'll say mine after yours.
Let me see. I'm gonna put on my thinking cap. So one thing that I would say that I would look back on is, like, we did a lot of pranks. And I just remember like yeah, sometime it was goofy, but it was kind of dangerous too.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, like, we did a lot of camping, because I'm from the Caribbean, and we do a lot of outdoor things. And growing up,
like camping around the beach.
Yeah, or beach house and stuff. And so, on the summer vacation, and one of the things we would do is like just catch a crab and put it in my sister's room, or put it in her tent, and like she is kind of petrified of
Which sister?
My sister Rachel.
Oh wow.
Like she would do things like anything, like a cockroach, a little crab, a fly, anything, a lizard, anything. She would always be like that jumpy. But also there's one of my brother friend, he just doesn't like frogs, like little sticky flying frogs. And I had like catching them. I would just get a bag, put it, and like he was petrified. Like he would go, he just didn't like it. But this one time we were out on the beach, and I think I'm around like 7-8 years around there, and we were on the beach, and my cousin, his cousin, came along too as well, for to spend some vacation time with us on the beach, and I saw this fish, and it seemed to be dead, and I want to believe that it was like, let's say it was a catfish. That's what I'm saying it is. But whatever I did, I was like, I did this to the fish. We were all sitting in the sand, and I was like, okay, let me just throw this fish away. Bam. But I didn't know like it flew on him. Like I didn't know that.
That's
and
pretty
then
cool.
he said, oh, it's stuck, and we were all laughing at it because we thought it was a joke, but it wasn't a joke. Like it literally.
You didn't mean to throw it at him.
No, I didn't mean to do it. I just did like this, like
where did it stick on him?
It sticked on around his right here, and he didn't, because we were just all on the.
So he loses his mind.
No, he took it as a.
He thought it was funny too.
No, but we thought he was joking, but he wasn't. Mm-hmm. And then we all had to like walk to the hospital, which wasn't far.
So the fish stuck him.
This fish,
oh wow!
The bone stuck him, and it stuck onto him.
That's pretty cool.
So I would say like there are a lot of more stories, but I oftentimes I think on those when I think of like my sibling or my cousins grew up with a lot of family. I would just think about like random things that we did. I just remember one time too, like my grandparents, my grandma especially. She had like cows and goats and animals, and she would take them. This was like this is a routine that she did. Like early morning, before she goes to work, she would take them to a greener pasture, and for them to graze. And then afterwards, she would go get them after work. And she always did like she was like a farmer, so it wasn't like a long day work. It was just short periods. And I remember one time my cousin and I, like, there's like steep hills, and so my cousin and I don't know what idea we came up with. We thought it was pretty cool, and we took the rope from the cow and we tied it to the bicycle, and my cousin and I were just gliding up the hill. And then my grandma says to us, if this cow runs away, it's gonna run wild and pull you guys all over. Now we thought it was goofy, but when we thought about it, like that's
it's
serious.
Dangerous. It was dangerous. Yeah. Cow weighs a lot. Could have killed you.
It's a big cow. So yeah, there were a lot of things. I mean, like.
All right, you read like 4 stories here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we got the point.
Yeah.
My point was. Yeah, so you look back on that. It didn't mean much then, but you look back on it now. It's kind of cool. It's kind of precious.
It's kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mines aren't as glamorous as being pulled by a cow, but I remember growing up, when we lived in Massachusetts when I was, a young, I was probably 12 or 13, and after church sometimes we would just take, I'd always just want to go home, And but like every once in a while, like my parents would get this wild hair to drive from where we lived in Springfield, Massachusetts, into Vermont just to take a drive through Vermont. Especially in the fall because the leaves were real nice. And I just remember it just would be so annoying because it's like I just want to go home. Like I'm in church clothes, And so what I would do is I was so dumb, really looking back. I would just put my headphones on and just zone out. You know what I mean? So they'd be talking and. I just had my headphones on, my little cassette player, listening to, whatever I could get my hands on, honestly, and it just annoyed by the whole thing, you know. And but look back on it now, it's like, man, it was actually pretty cool. I mean, some beautiful scenery, going to get maple syrup or having a lunch. Obviously my parents were still married then, which they're not now. This was, my brother was really young. And so, like, it was, like I said, at the time it was annoying, but I look back on it now and it's actually a pretty precious memory, I really wish I would have appreciated it a little bit more when I was there,
Well, I hope that Joaquin appreciates it.
Right. For all those who are watching.
And we don't give him a headset or any airbags, now so that he can zone out on us. But
yeah, I mean, well, we're expecting, for those who maybe just popped in the video, hopefully sometime in
the month of November.
Early November, late October. And so hopefully we can make some some memories like that, and he won't find them annoying.
Yeah.
And he'll enjoy them, but yeah, it's really just, living in the present, because even though as anxious as we are to like see him, I mean, she's pregnant right now, and we've seen the ultrasounds, and we've seen, hear the heartbeat, and even as anxious as we are to see him in person, like, I don't want to miss today though.
Yeah.
I mean, this is still a precious time that we have together.
Yeah.
It's still, valuable time. And like, I don't want to be so caught up on the future, and I don't want to be held up on the past. And I believe a lot of people could benefit from just cutting loose the past and really just living today. I think about Ephesians chapter 4 tells us to redeem the time. The days that we live in are rough, they're evil, but we can redeem the time. We can bring value back to today, not get so anxious about the future or be so remorseful about the past,
Yeah. And I mean, you look through the Word of God, and it tells you a lot of scriptures about, moving forward, looking forward for that hope, so as much as the past, it can be like, my husband made mention, it can be good memories, it can be, traumatic, it can be, some people just don't like looking back on it. But like scripture tells us that today's the day of salvation. Today's that day, to open up your heart, to allow Christ to come in for something even much more better than memories or experiences, but a new life,
a life
Christ.
of vitality, and I think that's what delivered me, to use a spiritual term, from that grip of nostalgia. I remember before we got married, like, a few years before I met you, and I really got involved with the ministry, like, I just, was really just kind of trapped in that mentality, of, wanted to hold on to a lot of things from the past, and, literally, as far as like I had stuff from high school still, tons of cassette players, but tons of cassette, but no longer had a cassette player, almost the same thing with CDs, and just like all these things that really just were just weighing me down, but they weren't actually adding any value to my current situation, and so, but like knowing, I mean, man, I'm 48 now, and I've had several friends, we've had family members that have passed away, tomorrow's not promised, knowing that any day, could be our last day. I want to live today is like, what if we lived like that today was the best part of the story,
right? Right.
Like, and we treated every day like it was Christmas Day. Think about it. And I think that's why I really like Christmas movies so much, or I really love the story of what is it, A Christmas Carol?
Yeah.
I love the redemption story of, I really love that, but I just love that idea of, when he gets that revelation, like, man, that life is, there's more to life, than money, and it's his family, and today's a special day, and and every day should be Christmas, and to get corny, but that's really how it should be. Like, being married to you's been awesome, and like every day with you is 10 times better than any day that I ever spent as a single guy. So like, man, today is a great day. This is part of the story, and if this is the last day that we get, man, I want to make it the best,
And you said that, and what came to my mind is like, there are days of miscommunication, conflicts, and different opinions, but then like when I think about days like these, it helps me to push back and just reason together. It really does. Like, scripture tells us that love covers a multitude of sin, and like, there are many moments that in our marriage when I look back and I see that whether I'm in the present and I'm dealing with a day that's difficult or complicated, overwhelming or long or a little stressful, I look back on a moment and a time of just of a shared memory or a shared time, and that just surpasses everything. Like, why am I fussing or fretting or picking up this offense or all these negative emotions that are happening? Why not trim away all of that and just see the valuable, see the precious, see the moment, seize that?
obviously we're not talking about, just living irresponsible, because that's the other end of that. People say, man, just whatever, live like there's no tomorrow, and you get kind of that carefree kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of that hippie's life where you're just traveling and doing your thing and with no real thought of the future.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that, but definitely like not being, not letting today's present circumstances dictate how we live, and dictate the joy for that day, because there's days where it just rains, but then there's days where it's sunny, but the weather doesn't have to dictate your personal joy. You know what I mean? And I think that's the difference between who I was when I was in my 20s or even in my early 30s versus who I am now, because I've matured spiritually.
Yeah.
And so I understand that, like, man, my life has a value, and I want to show that appreciation towards our Creator by living today to the best of my ability, And I saw a post from a guy. I'm a business, run a business. We're business owners, although I run the business with another partner, and so there's a lot of woes that go with that, but and a lot of ups too. But I saw a post from another guy who runs a similar business on Facebook, and he basically was saying, he was a little stressed because his schedule wasn't very booked out. And he was on the chat, one of our kind of community chat groups, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm a little, he's been in business like 12 or 13 years too, right? And he's like, yeah, just at that spot again where the schedule's light and I'm getting a little anxious. And he's like, yeah, but then I went and talked to my wife, and she's just like, hey, this has happened like 100 times before, and it always works out. And he's like, so I just want to let somebody know today that it's happened before, it's probably going to work out, and it's really that simple. Like, why would you let, like you said, a stress or an anxiety at your workplace ruin your whole day when it always ends up working out somehow?
Yeah, or even waiting on something, waiting can be very, very, it takes a lot out of you. We've all waited, the test of patience, everybody goes through it. But I think it's, we have to take moments where we get better at repeated things. When life repeats itself in a different way and in a different form or situation, how can I get better in seeing a solution rather than it being a heavy burden, a heavy load, And it's really like an elimination process, really going through the logistics of everything and just chipping away. Man, I have to see hope in something. How can I eliminate, well, this is not going to get me anyway. How can I find that solution? How can I reason? How can I break it down? What can I do in the waiting? So, but you did mention something before about life and it being so precious, and we see that, Bible again tells us, James chapter 5, that life is like a vapor. It is here today and it is gone tomorrow. And oftentimes a lot of people, and if we're not careful enough, we can miss out on that, because, we're here 1 minute and then we're gone, and we didn't get to seize the opportunity, maximize. I think we talked about maximizing
the season.
I think we made mention of that. But going back to nostalgia, going back to the now.
Today's the good old day. Today's a good day.
Today's that day. Today's that day of, like even getting up this morning, us both going to work and coming home. But man, it's a beautiful evening. It really is.
I mean, I'm so excited for our son to be born, Joaquin, aka Baby Jack. I'm very excited. I mean, I can't even put it into words. But today I was on a job doing a house wash along with a extremely tall gutter cleaning, which I don't like heights, and it was like in the natural. I mean, only other way to say it is like I hate gutter cleaning. I hate doing it. In the natural, I had every reason to hate being at this job yesterday and today, but in the spiritual, I know that today's a valuable day. It's a precious day, and I look over, and here I am being assisted today by my 68-year-old dad who recently retired, and now he's been helping us out at the business. And I tell you what, it's a beautiful thing. Like, as much as well, we don't butt heads at all. I would say we don't butt heads at all. But I guess as absent-minded as he can be sometimes, and as goofy as he can be, you know, it's fun. He keeps it interesting, you know. And I was just, you know, driving in the truck on the way back, and I'm just like, man, just thanking the Lord, man. You know, thank you for today. You know, I just, you know, number one, I'm glad. Thank you for not letting me fall off the ladder and die. But thank you for this time with my dad. You know what I mean? I mean, I pray that he lives to be 120 and we get to live to be 130, and that our son and hopefully more children, grandchildren would be able to know him the way that we get to know him. But that may not happen, you know? So why would I, as much as I want to see Joaquin, and like I was saying, like, I don't want to miss today with my dad.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss this day. You know, I don't want to act like it's just a blip on the map. I want to, you know, I don't want to build a memorial and stay here. You know what I mean? But I want to appreciate it while I have it. You know.
Yeah.
That's the challenge for people. You know, is being able to hold things loosely. You know?
Yeah. I think that looking back can get us in trouble, and looking ahead, we can make plans for what's ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all ought to, but now is that precious time that we have to live and enjoy every minute, every second, what you have. You know, whether it's you don't have that much finances to take a lavish trip, you don't have that much food, you're in need of something, but just do it what you have.
Making the most. Yeah.
Making the most of that, and then just enjoying that time. Like being out here, and like it's not the beach.
This breeze, but this breeze is nice.
It's not the beach, but hey, we're right here at the levee. It's the Mississippi River. There is the work boats that are possible.
Yeah, I mean, it was 94 degrees during the day. This is awesome right now. This breeze coming off the Mississippi right here feels phenomenal.
It's just really enjoying what you have,
mm-hmm.
and it's priceless. You cannot put a price tag to conversations,
making memories,
mm-hmm. relationship, building on it. Also, too, build relationship, mm-hmm. build healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Find a friend or neighbor, call up somebody, go for a walk,
mm-hmm.
you know, do something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think how we can help breaking free from the past, whether it's good or bad, and from anxiety of the future, is just to try to be present for other people today, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody else is probably struggling. They could use a word of encouragement. They could use a helping hand. Sometimes just saying, you know, hello and how are you doing can really brighten somebody's day. It's pretty wild. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the best parts when I look back on we're coming up on 8 years of marriage in November. When I look back on the last 7 years, I already see some good old days moments in those, you know, and a lot of that revolves around, you know, things that at first annoyed me, but now I look back and I was like, man, this is actually really cool. It was special. You know, and they involve you. Well, you know, I mean, I don't want to make this video too long, but, you know, because you've had an impact on my life, you know, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you treat people, the way that you genuinely love other people. Like, as much as I liked that when we first got married, it did annoy me because it reflected on the fact that I wasn't doing the same or feeling the same way. And so it challenged me, you know, and so I want to share that with somebody out there too. Put yourself around people that are going to challenge you, you know, to be better than you were yesterday, you know. And so you challenged me, and it changed me as I continued to watch the way that you lived, you know, and the way that you genuinely were. I said, man, I want to be like that, you know. I don't want to just ask somebody how they're doing, but not really care about the answer, you know. I want to care about the answer. I want to love people the way that you love people, because the way that you love people is the way that Jesus loves people, you know. And so, I think that's just a one of those kind of cheat codes to breaking free from the past and not worrying so much about the future. Just get around people who are going to encourage you to be better now. I mean, because nothing good in the future is going to happen by just sitting around planning. You have to do stuff now, you know. And I don't think I acted like that for a long time. I always had a lot of plans, like you said, but I never put things into action.
Yeah.
And so, you know, or I never followed through. You know, that's a whole nother conversation, you know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if life can teach you a lesson, then learn it, apply it.
absolutely, don't be
See-
scared of it.
See fruits out of that. So yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's today's the good day. Today's a good old day. One day we'll look back on this video and be like, man, that was a good time making that video.
Yeah.
Providing it comes out okay and the audio's good. We'll see.
There's a bug right here.
I'm trying to eat my watermelon.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
It's just a good old bug, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's a bee stinging one.
Yes, and I've been stung once this summer so far already. I don't want another one. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of our thought for today. So I love you, honey.
I love you too.
I love being with you. I love
So what's
spending
that
time
three
with you.
thing that you can be thankful for today?
3 things?
Or
Okay,
that
quick.
you're just thankful for in your life?
All right.
And
that make this season a good season.
Yeah.
Number 1, I can be thankful that all of our parents are still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
All 4 of our parents are still alive. Here's the crazier thing: all 4 of my grandparents are still alive.
That's pretty cool.
I can be thankful for that, even as nerve-wracking as my grandparents can sometimes be. I love them. I'm grateful for them. I really am. I'm grateful that our parents are still alive, and they're healthy. I'm really grateful for that. Number 2, I'm grateful that, even as rough as running the business is, I'm grateful that I've had the experience and the opportunity, because it continues to challenge me daily. It really does. To get up and learn how to motivate myself, because I don't have a boss cracking the whip on me.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. As tough as it is, I'm grateful for that. But number 3, obviously, I mean, I give the Lord his credit. I'm grateful for the Lord first, okay, first and foremost. But these are just things here outside of the Lord. Number 3, I'm grateful for my marriage. I really am. I would suggest and recommend marriage to everybody. If you want to learn more about who you are and who you really need to be, get married, and don't just get married, but actually get married and commit to that marriage.
Stay married.
Stay married. Let that marriage rub off those rough edges around your life, and and learn what it really means to be in union with somebody.
Yeah.
It's every year that goes by, it blows my mind even more. You know what I mean? So I'm extremely grateful for the gift of marriage that we've been given. You know what I mean? And so, all right, quickly, you get
All
3.
right. So gift of salvation because of Jesus Christ.
Right. We say,
know?
okay, that's the big one.
Okay.
Give me,
So the person. Okay. All right. Okay.
Give me 3 little
So I'll
ones.
say obviously marriage, of course.
Oh, come.
I have to say marriage. I mean, he took all a good one.
Oh, you got.
I want to say
they could be
okay.
simple. They don't have to be super complex.
Well, obviously, the gift of bearing a child,
That's awesome. Yeah.
or pregnancy, or fruitful in the womb, or
Yeah.
becoming a mom.
That's awesome.
So that's awesome. Just really grateful for the let's see, just learning new skills, things I've never done before, and being able to be challenged by that, and just in particular, just tasks that I'm given, or positions that I'm placed to
At your job.
at my job, and just even whether just making a change and being consistent in that, because sometimes you can want to change but not really commit to it, or say like a task or a goal and just don't even see the end of it, but really seeing it come, and just challenging yourself, getting up every day and saying like, even though you don't know, but I got this, I got this, I can do this, I can get that going. And the other thing, so that would be 2 things. So obviously marriage,
The baby.
the baby, and just being challenged at jobs. So I'll take that.
Okay.
And
Give me one ultra simple one. Something you're just like, man, I really like. Okay. Good pizza. Like, I'm grateful for good pizza. We got good pizza in New Orleans. You know what I mean? Who would have thought? Here in the deep south, you'd
I
find
would
really
say
good pizza.
that-
I'm grateful for it.
I would say that I am grateful for living in a very unique place.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, it doesn't offer all the high glamour of another somewhere else that you would want to be, but there's a charm to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a charm and there's a beauty of
Absolutely.
of living in New Orleans, and it's I like it. I really do. You know, there's this simplicity of things. You know, obviously, getting to walk and see the Mississippi River, or taking the ferry, or seeing the oak trees all over, learning the history, and so yeah.
Yeah. I've always said it's like you get a big city without the big city feel.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It actually is really cool.
I think it's pretty cool. I like it. I really do.
It's grown on me for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I've come to love it more over the years, but especially after, you know, getting married and being able to travel around and see things with you. So,
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna wrap it up right there. So,
Yep.
appreciate you guys. If you maybe you could comment down below a couple of 3 things that you're grateful for in this present time, and maybe some things you needed to let go of the past. You know, any prayer requests, we'd love to pray with you. You see, we're praying people. We even wear it on our hats. So until next time, this is Roy.
Actually much prayer.
Until next time, it's
Even
Roy and Kim in real life. Next time we'll bring Bucky for the vlog. We just didn't want him running around crazy at this one.
Yeah.
But we'll catch you guys later.